Hey guys, what's up? I hope you're all doing great. Welcome to How to Get an 80s Metal Tone. So it's still part of the 3-part How to Sound 80s series. This one's all about tone. I'm going to give you guys a close-up of the amp and kind of walk you through what, in my opinion, is a good 80s metal guitar tone. Alright guys, so let's start breaking apart some guitar tone. So a lot of you guys might like or hate my tone, but I definitely get lots of compliments and questions about how I get the tone. So one of the first things is, so everybody's going to say, this is like a funny guitar joke, but the tone is in your hands. So I could plug you guys into this amp and it would probably sound completely different than when I'm playing it, because there is definitely tone in our fingers, regardless of what people say. We all grab the guitar necks differently, some people pick harder, softer, all that stuff. So the biggest part of your tone is going to come from your fingers, unfortunately. And what's fortunate about that, so unfortunately it's all about your fingers. Fortunately, you can learn to have this tone. So by listening, again, part 1 and part 2, I'm just keep saying the same things. By listening to the 80s and learning the stuff and learning the licks and solos, you kind of establish this tone in your hand. So you get their feel for vibrato and phrasing, and that's going to help you a lot in the long run for tone. So what I like to do for tone is I don't like tons of distortion. I mean, you can still hear all the notes when I play a chord. Alright, so as far as like amp sounds and stuff like that, I don't necessarily like tons of distortion. There's certainly plenty on here. A jazz player's nightmare would be my tone. But there's plenty of distortion on here, but enough to where it stays crisp. And obviously the real tone of this amp will not come through on the camera mic or if I mic'd it and all that stuff. In the room it sounds completely different. So I like that when I still strum a chord I can hear all the notes very clear. You know, if I want to mute them, nothing really gets lost. I have a very crisp kind of like chunk to it. And this guitar is a very bassy one, and I love the thud that it kind of gives to it. So we have that. Now, obviously, like I said, you don't want tons of gain. And I think one thing that a lot of people don't do is they, for whatever reason, they want to scoop mids. I hate that sound. And it's definitely not part of the 80s. So I keep my mids right around, on your dial, around like 5 or 6. So that, to me, is the sweet spot for mids. And obviously, different amps have a little bit of a different setting on them. But that's just what works for me. So next is the bass. Now I like a very bassy sound, and you can get your bass a couple different ways. You can boost the mids and stuff like that. I like to just bring up the bass. There's a different sound to this and a certain chunk that I like, so I actually keep my bass around like 8, and that's probably pretty high for most people, because you do get a really pretty good thud out of it. So next is our treble. I keep treble right around 7. That's just kind of what I like. I like a sound that really cuts, and that comes from your mids and your treble. So an 80s was definitely a very kind of like a thin tone era, but that's just the way that I like the setting. I still think it has plenty of chunk. And it has plenty of punch to it. So like I said, the gain, I keep gain around 5, in between 5 and 6. And luckily, that's plenty enough. The pickups in this guitar is the tone zone and the bridge, which is considered a high output, because I think the frequency range is still kind of peak into that high output range. So it's probably, well actually I think the full shred is the hottest pickup that we have in here. That's in the 88 that you saw in the other video. So that's just kind of getting our basic amp sound. So now this is a very dry tone, so I just killed the effects that I had running. And this is what I actually record with. When I record rhythms, I never put in reverb or delay or any of that stuff. I always have a very dry rhythm tone. And I also dropped my gain back even more, probably around 4-ish range, to give me that very crisp sound, because when you double track or triple or quad track or anything like that, you run into some muddiness that I've learned, and I'm not good at mixing or anything like that, but I'm just kind of learning as I go. So I tend to roll the gain down, and it kind of picks itself back up in the mix. So it kind of getting into the rhythm tone, that was basically it. That's how my rhythm set up. Now my lead isn't really any different than the rhythm, other than I just add some effects to it. And this is kind of what I always did live, is I hated pedals, my feet, and I don't want to turn on 10 different things. So I just kind of had like a basic setting, and I would flip on some reverb and boost the level, and then that was my lead tone. So it's a simple setup, but it was always effective to me. The biggest part of my tone was always this. I didn't want pedals or anything like that. I used this little device right here, the forgotten tool by a lot of guitar players, just the volume knob. That's plenty for me. I can roll it down and get a clean sound. I can coil tap. Okay, so that's how I did a lot of my, sound changes. Now next, for an 80s tone, you have to have reverb. If you want a good 80s lead tone, I've never heard an 80s guitar player who doesn't have reverb. Now, sometimes I use delay. I don't always. A lot of times I just like reverb on there. If I add delay, it definitely adds a little bit to it. It gives it a little bit more, kind of like, not spacey sound, but there's a little bit more breath to it. You can hear that little extra oomph that's on there. And that's basically how I go about creating my 80s metal tones, It's just a sound that I like. I feel very comfortable playing it. And it's definitely something, I get plenty of comments, like in the lesson videos, kill the reverb and delay and all that stuff. But I don't know, it's not fun for me. I don't enjoy that. I don't think I would teach as well if I was playing with a sound that I didn't enjoy playing. So there's nothing wrong without playing with delay and reverb. I can do it just fine. Oops, I hit my volume knob. It's a great sound. Delay reverb is not what I need. It's just simply what I enjoy. So when I have that reverb on there, I love it. It's just the perfect tone for me. And that is how I get my 80s metal guitar tone. Alright guys, that is going to do it for the third and final part of the How to Sound 80s. I hope you guys enjoyed this little series. If you would, please hit that like button. You can subscribe wherever the button is. That helps me out a ton. And speaking of subscribing, we're getting really, really close. We just hit 9,000 subscribers like 2 days ago or something. I think we're at we're over 9,100 now. But once I hit 10,000, I'm going to do another big giveaway. I've got a bunch of companies I've been talking to about what we're going to do to celebrate 10,000. So if you would, share my channel, do all that stuff. When we get to 10,000, it's probably going to be giving away some guitars, some cool gear, and stuff like that. So thank you guys so much for watching. And all of you guys who clicked that link from part 2 to watch this video early, you guys rule! So I'll see you guys later. Peace out. And as usual, cool lick. Come on, I can do this. One of these times I'll do a cool lick, but without a pick. My amp's not even on. Well, then I can't play wrong.